Inside, emergency lighting illuminated the ship's inner workings. Zara moved quickly through the narrow space, heading for the central control junction. She could feel the ship's systems failing around her. The vibrations were growing worse. Soon, structural integrity would be compromised. She reached the junction point where all main systems connected. The diagnostic panel showed exactly what she feared. The power coupling failure had cascaded into the stabilizer systems. But there was something else. Someone had bypassed the safety protocols that should have prevented this kind of failure chain. This wasn't just cost-cutting. This was deliberate sabotage. Zara's fingers flew across the control panel, entering override codes and rerouting power from non-essential systems. The ship's trembling eased slightly, but they weren't safe yet. She opened a direct communication line to the bridge. "Captain, this is Zara Williams," she said, abandoning her cover. "I've stabilized the power flow temporarily, but you need to reduce speed and activate the secondary gravitational field generators." There was a pause before the captain responded, confusion in his voice. "Ms. Williams? How are you?" "There's no time." She cut him off. "Trust me. Do it now." Something in her voice convinced him. Reducing speed. Activating secondary fields. The ship gradually stopped its dangerous tilting as the backup systems engage. Zara continued working, bypassing damaged circuits and creating alternative pathways for critical systems. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she raced against time. Above her, she could hear passengers slowly calming as the emergency appeared to be passing. The captain's voice came over the intercom again, steadier now. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have stabilized the ship. Please remain in your seats with safety harnesses fastened while we complete diagnostic procedures." Zara activated the final bypass sequence, then spoke again to the captain on the private channel. "I've isolated the damaged systems. We can make it to Nova Prime at reduced speed, but I need you to lock down all maintenance access and secure the flight records." "May I ask why?" the captain questioned. "Because this wasn't an accident," Zara replied grimly. "And I want to know who's responsible." She closed the access panel behind her and returned to the main cabin, slipping back into her economy seat just as the regular lighting resumed. Across the cabin, passengers were adjusting to the new normal, the crisis seemingly averted by the skilled crew. No one noticed the woman in seat 43E who had just saved all their lives. No one except a single flight attendant who stared at her with new understanding and whispered, "Thank you." Zara nodded slightly, then turned her attention to her tablet. Tomorrow's board meeting had just become even more important. The glass-walled boardroom on the top floor of Stellar Alliance headquarters buzzed with tension. Executive board members sat rigid in their chairs, watching Marcus Trent pace confidently at the head of the table. His presentation displayed on the wall screen showed graphs and projections for his planned takeover. "As you can see," Trent said smoothly, "your company is in decline. Safety incidents are up 15%. Customer satisfaction is falling. Your stock value dropped 7 points last quarter." He paused for effect. Galactic Ventures can save Stellar Alliance before it's too late. The board members exchanged nervous glances. None challenged his assertions, though several seemed uncomfortable. "Yesterday's near disaster on the Celestia proves my point," Trent continued, referencing the emergency that had been all over the morning news. "Your flagship almost failed catastrophically mid-journey. Only luck prevented hundreds of deaths." Chen, Zora's loyal second-in-command, checked his watch discreetly. It was 9:15 a.m. The meeting had started without Zara, who was uncharacteristically late. "My offer is generous but expires today," Trent pressed. "Your shareholders will thank you for accepting before your stock value drops further." The boardroom doors slid open silently. Every head turned as a woman entered, but not the simply dressed woman they expected. Zara Williams walked in wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, her natural hair framing her face elegantly. Gone was the economy-class passenger in the simple blouse. This was clearly a woman in command. Trent's presentation faltered mid-sentence. His expression shifted from annoyance at the interruption to confusion. "I believe that's my seat," Zora said calmly, indicating the chair at the head of the table. "Who let this woman in?" Trent demanded, recovering quickly. "Security." He looked around cautiously before answering. "More common lately. Budget cuts, they say." Budget cuts. Zara had approved no such thing. Her board had been managing daily operations while she focused on ship design, but major financial decisions required her approval. Someone had been making unauthorized changes. A sudden lurch threw several passengers forward in their seats. Overhead bins popped open, spilling bags. The lights flickered briefly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've encountered some unexpected turbulence. Please return to your seats and fasten your safety harnesses," the captain announced, strain evident in his voice. Zara checked her hidden diagnostics again. This wasn't turbulence. One of the secondary power couplings was failing, a part that should have been replaced during the last maintenance cycle. A second, more violent shudder ran through the ship. Warning lights flashed on emergency panels. "Engine malfunction in Section 4, came the captain's strained voice. "All crew to emergency stations." Passengers looked around nervously. From her seat, Zora could see through the cabin divider into business class, where Marcus Trent was demanding answers from a frightened attendant. Her tablet chimed again. Chen's message was brief. Maintenance records show scheduled replacement of power couplings was postponed 3 times due to cost-cutting measures. Zora's fingers tightened around her tablet. Cost-cutting that endangered passengers. This was worse than she'd imagined. As the ship trembled again, Zora realized she might need to reveal herself sooner than planned. Someone had been sacrificing safety for profit, and now hundreds of lives were at risk, including her own. The emergency lights bathed the cabin in an ominous red glow. "We're losing stabilizers." The pilot's voice cracked over the intercom, no longer maintaining the calm professional tone passengers expected. Red warning lights pulsed throughout the cabin as the Celestia tilted sharply to one side. Oxygen masks dropped from overhead compartments, swinging wildly with the ship's movements. Passengers screamed as their belongings slid across the floor and crashed against walls. A child cried somewhere in the darkness as the main lights failed completely, leaving only the emergency strips glowing along the floor and exits. In economy class, Zara unbuckled her safety harness, while everyone else was frantically securing theirs. She had designed this ship. She knew every system, every backup, every failsafe. And she knew that without immediate intervention, the situation would deteriorate beyond recovery. "Ma'am, you need to stay seated," called a flight attendant who was struggling to maintain his balance in the tilting cabin. Zara ignored him, moving purposefully against the ship's dangerous angle toward the maintenance access panel, hidden behind a decorative wall section near the restrooms. The ship lurched again, throwing her against a seat. She pushed forward. Through the curtain dividing the cabins, she could see chaos in business and first class too. Marcus Trent was shouting into his communication device, his face contorted with fear. "Get me off this death trap," he yelled at someone. "I don't care what it costs. Send a rescue shuttle now." The ship shuddered violently, and an automated voice announced, "Warning, primary power system failure. Switching to auxiliary power." Zara reached the maintenance panel and pressed her palm against what appeared to be solid wall. A hidden scanner read her handprint. She had programmed her biometrics into every ship as a security measure, though she never expected to use the feature personally. The panel slid open, revealing a narrow access tunnel. "You can't go in there." A crew member spotted her and rushed over, grabbing her arm. "That area is restricted to authorized personnel only." Zara turned to him, her voice steady despite the chaos. "I know. I'm Zara Williams." The name meant nothing to the young man. Few people knew the founder's face. "Trust me," she said simply, pulling away and disappearing into the access tunnel before he could stop her. "The invisible owner sees everything," Zora agreed. "I'll know exactly how my company truly runs because no one will perform for the boss." 5 years of relentless work followed. Zara hired brilliant minds who had also been overlooked by the established companies. Together, they transformed junk ships into marvels of efficiency. Profits grew. New ships were designed. A company culture built on respect emerged naturally. 10 years after founding Stellar Alliance, Zara watched from her simple office as the Celestia, her finest creation yet, prepared for its maiden voyage. The luxury liner represented everything she had dreamed of as a child staring through the colony fence. "Your father would have been so proud," her mother said, standing beside her. Samuel had not lived to see his daughter's company become the most respected in the industry. Zara squeezed her mother's hand. "I'm going to take a trip soon," she said. "As a regular passenger, I need to see how things really work when no one knows who's watching." Neither of them could have imagined how that decision would change everything. Economy class on the Celestia wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't first class. Zara settled into the narrower seat, noting how her knees almost touched the seat in front of her. Around her, passengers stowed their belongings and prepared for the 3-day journey to Nova Prime. The lighting here was dimmer, the air slightly stuffier. Perfect for her purpose. Zara pulled out her tablet, disguised as a standard consumer model rather than the custom executive device she normally used. Her fingers moved quickly over the screen as she started a new document labeled Passenger Observations. The first thing she noticed was a slight delay in the environmental controls. The temperature fluctuated between too warm and too cool, something passengers in first class wouldn't experience with their individually controlled climate settings. A young mother struggled to fit her bag into the overhead compartment while balancing a toddler on her hip. None of the crew noticed. Zara stood up and helped her, earning a grateful smile. "Thank you. I've been traveling for 16 hours already," the woman explained. "Transfer from Mars colony." Zara made another note. Long-distance transfer passengers were being seated without assistance or consideration for their fatigue. As the ship prepared for departure, Zara noticed a ceiling panel above row 32 that wasn't properly secured. It vibrated visibly during the engine warm-up sequence. She added it to her growing list. "Attention passengers, we are experiencing a slight delay in departure. Please remain seated," announced a tired-sounding voice. Zara checked the ship's status on her tablet's hidden diagnostic program. The delay wasn't due to traffic as the announcement implied, but a minor stabilizer calibration issue that should have been addressed during pre-flight checks. Her tablet chimed softly with an encrypted message. Chen, her loyal second-in-command, was checking in. "Everything's set for tomorrow's emergency board meeting." The message read, "Trent's company has accelerated their takeover attempt. They've acquired 28% of floating shares and are pressuring smaller investors. Legal team standing by." Zara typed quickly. "Prepare complete documentation of company ownership structure. Trent doesn't know who I am. We'll provide full report on ship conditions after landing." The ship finally lifted off, the motion smoother in first class than in economy, where Zara could feel every minor adjustment of the thrusters. She wasn't concerned about safety. Stellar Alliance ships were the most reliable in the galaxy, but the difference in experience was striking. During the meal service, Zara noticed the economy food was not only simpler but served almost cold. The flight attendants seemed rushed, understaffed for the number of passengers. One of them, a young man with dark circles under his eyes, was clearly working a double shift based on the timestamp on his ID badge. "Excuse me," Zara called to him quietly. "How long have you been on duty?" The attendant paused. "About 14 hours, ma'am. We're short-staffed this month." "Is that common?" As the economy cabin came into view, Zara checked her watch. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow at headquarters. Marcus Trent thought tomorrow would mark his company's triumph. He had no idea what was actually coming. Zara Williams smiled to herself as she found her new seat. Sometimes, the best view wasn't from first class after all. The red dust of Colony 12 swirled around 10-year-old Zara as she stood at the edge of the spaceport fence, her small fingers gripping the metal links. Above her, Massive ships lifted into the orange sky, their engines glowing bright against the setting sun. Each departure sent vibrations through the ground beneath her worn shoes. "You're going to be late for dinner again," her father said, his voice gentle as he approached behind her. Samuel Williams wore the gray uniform of the maintenance crew, his hands permanently stained with engine oil. "I want to fly in one of those someday," Zara whispered, not taking her eyes off a departing luxury liner. Her father placed a calloused hand on her shoulder. "People like us don't fly in those ships, little star. We fix them." His smile held no bitterness, only acceptance. And that's important too. That night, while her parents slept in their small quarters at the edge of the colony, Zara drew ship designs by the light of a small lamp. Her childish sketches already showed unusual understanding of propulsion systems. Years passed. At 16, Zara was spending every free moment in the spaceport's junkyard, collecting discarded parts. Her bedroom transformed into a workshop where she built small engines that ran more efficiently than standard models. Her mother worried. Her father beamed with pride. "You've got the gift," he told her, examining a miniature thruster she'd built from scrap. "You need proper schooling." When the acceptance letter from the New Earth Engineering Academy arrived, Zora's parents stole everything they could to pay for her education. They moved into an even smaller apartment, working double shifts to support her dreams. At the academy, Zora excelled despite the whispers. Colony girl, maintenance family, scholarship case. She graduated top of her class with a revolutionary engine design that could cut interstellar travel time in half while using a quarter of the fuel. The future seemed bright, until the rejection letters began arriving. "While your qualifications are impressive, we've decided to pursue other candidates. Your design shows promise, but isn't compatible with our current systems. We don't believe your background provides the necessary understanding of our clientele." By the 15th rejection, the pattern was clear. Her designs were brilliant, but she wasn't the right fit for the established transport companies. Zara sat in her tiny apartment, the latest rejection letter crumpled in her fist, when her communication panel beeped. Her father's tired face appeared on screen. "How did it go with Orion Transports?" he asked hopefully. She forced a smile. "Same as the others." Her father's face fell. "I'm sorry, little star." "Dad," Zora said suddenly, "how much do you and Mom have saved for retirement?" 3 months later, Samuel and Maria Williams stood beside their daughter in a dusty office on the outskirts of New Singapore. Their life savings, 60,000 credits, had purchased the registration of a new company, Stellar Alliance. "It's a beautiful name," her mother said, touching the certificate with trembling hands. "But how will you build ships without investors?" Zora showed them her second purchase, a small, abandoned repair dock in orbit around Neptune. "I'll start by refurbishing old ships," she explained. "Better, faster, more efficient than they were originally built. Then I'll use the profits to build my own." Her father looked worried. "The big companies will try to stop you." "Only if they know it's me," Zara replied. Her plan was already formed. "I'll hire a public representative. My name won't appear on any documents except the ownership papers." "You'll be invisible," her mother realized. The quiet hum of the luxury starship Celestia filled the first-class cabin as passengers settled in for the journey to Nova Prime. Zara Williams adjusted her simple navy blouse and smoothed her curly hair, trying to look like she belonged among the business executives and wealthy tourists. Her worn leather seat felt strange beneath her, not because she wasn't used to comfort, but because she was experiencing her own creation as a customer for the first time. She glanced around discreetly, mentally noting the details of the cabin she had designed but never personally used. Stellar Alliance, her company, had become the most prestigious interstellar transportation service in the galaxy, yet almost no one knew her face. Zara preferred it that way. Today's secret inspection would show her exactly how her ships treated regular passengers. A tall man in an expensive charcoal suit approached, checking seat numbers with obvious irritation. His eyes narrowed when they landed on Zora. Without warning, he bumped her arm as he passed, causing her coffee to splash across her blouse. "Oh," Zora gasped, quickly grabbing napkins to blot the spreading stain. The man didn't apologize. Instead, he looked down at her with cold eyes. "I believe you are in the wrong section." The first-class cabin fell silent. All eyes turned toward them. "I have a first-class ticket," Zora replied calmly, reaching for her boarding pass. The man snatched it from her hand, examined it with exaggerated care, then handed it back with a smirk. "There's clearly been a mistake." "No mistake, sir. Seat 7A is mine for this journey." Zara kept her voice steady despite the burning embarrassment. She felt as other passengers stared. "Do you know who I am?" The man straightened his already perfect tie. "Marcus Trent, CEO of Galactic Ventures. My company is finalizing acquisition of this airline next week." Recognition flashed through Zora's mind. The hostile takeover attempt her board had been fighting. This was the man behind it. And he had no idea who she was. "Sir, I have a valid ticket," she repeated. A computer error, obviously. Trent's voice grew louder, ensuring everyone could hear. "Someone like you doesn't belong in first class." A flight attendant approached cautiously. "Is there a problem here?" "Yes," Trent answered before Zora could speak. "This woman has been incorrectly assigned to first class. Please escort her to economy where she belongs." The flight attendant checked Zora's ticket. "Sir, her boarding pass is valid for this seat." "Then swap her for someone more appropriate." Trent's meaning was clear to everyone listening. The flight attendant's face flushed with discomfort. "Sir, I don't have the authority to." "Consider it a direct order from your future boss." Trent's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Unless you want to be unemployed after the acquisition." The young woman paled. "I'll see what I can do." Zara caught her reflection in the window. A woman at a crossroads. She could reveal herself as the founder and majority owner of Stellar Alliance. Watch Trent's face crumble with horror at his mistake. One word from her would end this humiliation instantly. But then she'd never see how her company really operated. She'd never know if incidents like this happened every day. "It's fine," Zara said quietly to the nervous attendant. "I'll move." Trent smiled triumphantly. "Wise decision. Consider this your first lesson in proper seating arrangements." As Zora gathered her worn laptop bag, whispers rippled through the cabin. Some passengers looked uncomfortable, others pretended not to notice. A few even smirked alongside Trent. "I hope economy serves coffee too," Zora said with dignified calm. "Since I didn't get to finish mine here." Trent was already settling into his seat, dismissing her with a wave. Walking through business class toward economy, Zora's embarrassment turned to cold determination. The flight attendant walked beside her, apologizing repeatedly. "Don't worry," Zora assured her. "Everything happens for a reason." Chen stood, a slight smile on his face. "Allow me to introduce Zora Williams, founder and majority owner of Stellar Alliance." The room fell silent. Board members who had never met their reclusive founder in person stared in shock. Some looked embarrassed, others relieved. "You?" Trent's face drained of color as recognition dawned. "The woman from economy class. This is some kind of joke." "No joke, Mr. Trent." Zora placed her identification on the table. "Just good business practice. I regularly travel on my own ships incognito to experience what our customers experience." She walked to the front of the room and took control of the presentation system. The wall screen changed to show maintenance records. "Yesterday's incident was not bad luck or poor management," she continued. "It was deliberate sabotage." Gasps filled the room. Zara displayed evidence of tampered maintenance records and rushed inspections. Someone has been cutting corners on safety while falsifying reports. Someone has been preparing this company for failure and acquisition. Her eyes locked with Trent's. "How convenient that you were on board during a rare system failure with a takeover offer ready." Trent's face flushed with anger. "You can't prove anything." "Actually, I can." Zora displayed communication records between Trent and two board members. These gentlemen have been feeding you information and helping implement your strategy from inside. The implicated board members stood to protest, but Chen motioned for security to escort them from the room. But before we discuss your attempted corporate sabotage, Zara said, her voice hardening, let's talk about how you treated a passenger yesterday, simply because of how she looked. The screen showed security footage of Trent confronting Zara in first class. You clearly don't belong here, recorded Trent sneered on screen. Economy is that way. Several board members looked down, uncomfortable with the blatant display of prejudice. You judged me based on appearance, not my ticket, Zora continued. Then you threatened my employee when she tried to do her job correctly. Trent's confidence crumbled. I didn't know who you were. That's exactly the point, Mr. Trent. You shouldn't treat anyone that way, regardless of who they are. Zora's voice remained calm but firm. Your behavior revealed your character. Your actions endangered hundreds of lives for corporate gain. She turned to address the full board. Stellar Alliance was founded on the principle that everyone deserves respect and excellent service, whether they're in first class or economy. I experienced firsthand yesterday how far we've drifted from that vision. Zora outlined new company policies, improved safety protocols, better working conditions for crew, and enhanced comfort for all passengers regardless of ticket class. As for you, Mr. Trent, she concluded, your takeover attempt has failed. Security will escort you out, and I believe the authorities will be interested in discussing your role in yesterday's accident. As Trent was led away, protesting, Zara took her rightful seat at the head of the table. Now, she said to her remaining board members, let's rebuild Stellar Alliance as it was meant to be. Yesterday, I sat in economy class and saw our company through our passengers' eyes. Today, we make their experience our priority. Every passenger, every seat, every journey. The board erupted in applause, recognizing that their company had just been saved by the woman no one had recognized.